Hello survivors, this is Larva or Moss Hive. I don't even know what I want to be called anymore right now. I'm having a name crisis, you know. It is 9:28 p.m. January 28th, 2023. I don't know why I have the urge to say the exact date and time. I don't know, that's weird. Anyways, for this video I wanted to commentate and talk about basically ideas I have for Dead by Daylight, because you know, when you think of ideas and you want to talk about them, you can't just you can't just keep it in your mind if you think it's a good idea. So here we are. So there are a few mechanics in the game, right, for survivors, different objectives. Well, actually the only objective is basically to repair generators and I guess open the exit gate and escape. But I feel like there should be more objectives, like not just generators, you know, or maybe generators are still the only objective, but there you have like different types of generators, and by that I mean the different types of generators would look different, and I guess well, no, I don't guess, but there should be like different types of skill checks, because I think a lot of survivors, like a lot of survivor mains at least, can agree that the generators are really repetitive. Like, think about it, you just hold down the button, right, and you attach yourself to a generator, you're repairing it, and every so often you get a skill check. And it's usually the same kind of skill check. And while there are perks that, you know, can change things up a bit, like make them more difficult, I believe that there should be like more different types of skill checks. Sorry, I have a cat in my lap right now. Yeah, so I think there should be different types of skill checks, or, well, actually more like maybe generators shouldn't be the only thing that survivors have to do. I was thinking of like other types of machinery, I guess. Like maybe you also have to repair the exit gates, right? Like, you know, there's the panel with that lever. Maybe you have to like go find the lever in like one of the chests or something like that, and you have to like attach it on. Maybe the killer can't really interfere much with the exit gate. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. Uh, I didn't entirely think this through, to be honest, so... Oh gosh, that firecracker messed me up. Anyways, yeah, I'm just thinking maybe the survivors have to do other objectives other than repairing generators. I had this like, I don't know if you would call it a vision or this sudden idea that popped in my head, but I was thinking of like some kind of machine in the basement. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm imagining survivors like turning knobs on this like table like thing, and it's kind of like, I think it reminds me of like Friday the 13th, where you have to like, where you like call for help on the phone. It's kind of like something like that. And Lori really confused me there. Yeah, I hope you don't mind Halloween themed stuff going on here a little bit, but the dredge is pretty scary after all. Gosh, I apologize for saying so much. So, gosh darn it, what's another objective the survivors can do? Oh yeah, that reminds me of another thing. I think there should be, I think each map should have unique kinds of generators, if that makes sense. Like, for example, Hawkins Laboratory, right? I know that's not a map that exists anymore, kind of, but, like, for example, like the machinery in the labs, like, maybe that can be a generator that you work on instead of it being the typical looking generator, if that makes sense. And I think it just gives, I think it gives, like, uniqueness to the map. And like I said, with the different types of skill checks, um, maybe have that for each map. I think that'll make the map more unique in that regard. Another idea would be in the Auto Haven, what's it called? Whatever it's called, Gas Heaven. Maybe the generators are like entirely made of scraps. Maybe there's generators in like some of the cars. And you have to like repair the car itself. Well, not the car itself, but the generator itself is in the engine bay of the car. So yeah, just like different types of generators, I think would make the maps more unique. And as you can see on the camera, these lorries like really give me a hard time. More ideas for unique generators would be maybe in the Knights new map. The generators look more old-fashioned, if that makes sense. Like maybe you're like steam engines or whatever. Especially for the Death Slingers map too, because I know that, you know, modern generators would not fit in with the old times, like with the Knight and Death Slinger. And let's see, I just think there's a lot of potential for this game, to be honest. And that brings up another thing, another idea I had. So, as we know, the killers have like their own unique weapons. But I think in terms of, at least for killers that have melee weapons, instead of like using their claws like the Hag or Demogorgon, I think we should get like different types of weapons. And by that I mean introduce the mechanic of like different types of damage. I know you may be confused by this, but I'll explain right now. So there's bludgeoning damage, and there's slashing damage, and I guess piercing damage as well. So I know this may be confusing, but I think it will add more complexity to the game. So when you get slashed by a weapon, right, you get a wound, like where you know you're bleeding. Basically, you have a open wound on your body. But when you get hit by something like a hammer or a mace, it's more like a, sure, you might bleed a little bit, but it's not the same kind of wound a slashing weapon would do. It would leave more of a like harsh bruise or even a broken bone. And if you think about it, like a sword, depending on how hard you hit someone with it, wouldn't like break a bone, you know. And then there's piercing damage, which would basically, I guess, it would be like a deep wound. So maybe that would cause the deep wound status effect. But basically, I'm thinking the killer can bring, depending, it's more of a, I guess it's more of a customization you choose for your weapon. And not all killers would have like bludgeoning weapons or slashing weapons, but a lot of them have slashing weapons. So with that, you would have a regular wound where you bleed, and this doesn't really cause much an effect on the survivor, except for the typical stuff like leaving behind a blood trail. Let's see, what else? You're damaged, basically. You lose a health state. But that's for like every type of damage, I guess. And maybe they can have an effect where if you lose too much blood, you get like exhausted, maybe. And maybe you have like a penalty on generators. I know there's perks for that, but I feel like it should be a base mechanic. So then there's bludgeoning weapons, like hammers and maces and whatnot. Not all killers have this, but there's like the hillbilly with like the hammer or the shovel that he uses. The cannibal also has a hammer. And with that being said, maybe the survivor has like a really harsh bruise on them, so they have to like maybe use some kind of cream as a healing item. And this would, these different types of damages would make healing more complex too. And, maybe not just the same old typical medkit, I guess. I'm sorry if this is too confusing or just too much for the game, but it's just a thing I thought of because healing is an important part of the game, and it's like, this is a survival horror game. Maybe not a scary game, like a scary horror game, but horror is kind of the main aspect of it. And so yeah, speaking of bludgeoning, maybe it would like break a bone too. Like you break your arm, for example, from being bludgeoned. So you would have to like make a splint. You have to find that somewhere, or another survivor can do it for you. And after you get a splint on your arm, you can like repair generators again at a normal rate. And I guess that would apply to, I guess that's kind of the same as the slashing wound, but instead of like having a broken arm, you're just losing blood. So like you wouldn't have that penalty of repairing generators like immediately. And as for slashing damage, once you're slashed and you're bleeding and stuff, you would basically need like gauze or like some kind of wrapping cloth to heal yourself with to cover up the wound to stop it from bleeding. Maybe like some disinfectant. And yeah, as for piercing damage, I think the only thing I can think of with that would be a Legion, where he like stabs survivors with his feral frenzy instead of like slashing them regularly. And I guess we don't really need much. I don't really need to say much for piercing damage because there's kind of already a mechanic for that, and that's deep wound. Like you have the deep wound status effect, and you have to mend yourself, which is basically you put your guts back in your body or something like that. So yeah, I think that's a kind of a good idea. Let me know in the comments if you think it's a bad idea, or if you think it's too complex, or what changes you would make. I'm trying to think of something else. Of course, I don't think it would just be a customization kind of thing. I think a lot of killers that, like the Trapper and the Wraith that use like melee weapons, they'll get like a secondary option for like the type of weapon they use. So it wouldn't be just like the typical sword or the typical slashing weapon. They could use like some kind of mace or bat or something like that. But some killers would be stuck with the slashing weapon or the bludgeoning weapon. But I can imagine the hillbilly, like instead of a hammer or something, can use a slashing weapon. Sorry. But I know this idea might be far-fetched or too complex, so I guess I'll try to summarize it right now. Add different types of damages the survivor can have, depending on the killer's weapon of choice, and depending on the type of wound or damage they have, like a bludgeoning damage or slashing damage or piercing damage, they have to use a different type of healing item to heal themselves, and along with that, they can have different types of skill checks depending on what type of healing they do, depending on what type of damage they have. So yeah, I hope that makes sense for you. I hope that's a good summary. Moving on, I would like to discuss some potential changes for certain killers that are usually ranked as low on the tier list. Now I know that everyone has their different preferences for the type of killer they have, but some killers, a lot of people can agree, have very limited, if any at all, uh, map pressure, basically. So my first idea is for the clown. Basically, when you throw a bottle and you intoxicate a survivor, maybe they have a penalty for gen repairs, and they wouldn't have to be injured for it. It just, when you intoxicate them with the bottle, they have like a long, like not too long, but they have like a penalty for repairing generators because of their intoxication. They're kind of high in a sense. um I guess high is not the right word. It's not like they're drugged. Well, they are kind of drugged, but basically because of the intoxication, they have a penalty on generators, and I don't know how long it would last. Maybe like 80 seconds or 120 seconds. It's up to the developers how they think it should go. But basically, with that being added, I think it would add more map pressure because the survivors would repair generators more slowly, and you wouldn't have like, you chasing one survivor while all the others are repairing a generator, and, are just being just fine. It might be like that at first, but once intoxicate all the survivors, they have trouble repairing generators for a while. And along with that, like with the killer being like literally a clown, the clown, maybe he does like some weird mechanics regarding like perks or pallets and stuff. I was thinking maybe some of the pallets have like, I don't know, razor blades on them. That can apply to the trapper too, which we'll talk about later. Um, so yeah, the clown would have like these weird mechanics or things that he can do to generators. Um, Maybe he can put confetti in one of the generators and it like clogs it up because clowns, parties, confetti and whatnot. Like you can get like really creative with some clowns, and I feel like there's like a lot of potential to be had. And in my opinion, I don't think the yellow bottle is enough. And I guess you can do like other alchemy things, because that's one of the things the clown is known for. Him making these concoctions of chemicals that do various things. I think they can do more with that instead of just like a boost in speed. Maybe if the clown has like the yellow bottle and he like gets the yellow dust, or not dust, the yellow cloud on him, maybe he can apply deep wound, because like the yellow cloud, the yellow chemical basically would make him temporarily more hasty, so maybe he does like more damage than the average slash. And yeah, maybe like throwing a bottle on a generator for like intoxication or any chemical, maybe that clogs it. Maybe that clogs the generator, and the survivors get a penalty on that specific generator. It gets repaired slower, but this will be temporary only. So yeah, I think that's enough for the clown. I think we should move on to the nemesis, because I have a really good idea. In my opinion, this is a good idea. Where you replace the zombies with like the more mutated, crazy looking zombies. Now they might have to get a license for like the different types of zombies that Capcom has come up with over the years. But imagine if instead of the normal human looking zombies, you have like the crazier looking zombies like the lickers, or I apologize, I'm not too familiar with the Resident Evil franchise, but they have like so many crazy zombie designs. I think it would be really cool if they had like some other types of zombies in there. Like maybe the ones from Resident Evil 7 or the ones from, I guess, Nemesis game. And once again, I apologize, I'm not familiar with the Resident Evil franchise too much, but I know there's like a lot of crazy designs, especially from like Revelations. And yeah, you wouldn't have just two zombies, it would be kind of like the apocalypse, you know. And and that brings up another thing. Maybe the survivors, I'm sorry for changing subjects so quickly, but maybe the survivors have more means of defending themselves. This idea kind of comes from Friday the 13th, where the survivors can use various weapons against Jason, but it wouldn't be just normal melee weapons, I guess. It would be more like maybe they get a flare gun, you know? And oh gosh, that brings up another idea. I'm sorry. We're kind of done with Nemesis though. Just, you know, different types of zombies that do that not basically do different things, but just like in terms of looks cooler than, like, it shouldn't just be the average human looking zombie. You know what I mean? I think it would be scarier and better and cooler if it was like some kind of weird zombie, basically. Yeah. If you're familiar with the Resident Evil franchise, you know there's a lot of crazy designs. So yeah, I'm done with that. I want to move on to basically a crafting system in the game, and I think the current crafting system in the game is trash, to put it bluntly. I think there should be like some kind of crafting station or crafting bench, Minecraft reference for the win. Like maybe have like some kind of crafting station, right? And with perks like Flashbang and Blast Mine, I think you'd have to have like sure you repair a generator to get it, right? But instead of like having it installed automatically, or as for Flashbang you go into a locker automatically to get it, you have to like go to a crafting bench, and it's kind of like the same thing with a generator or healing, where it's like a loading bar and you have to do skill checks, right? And you basically make the item that way, and I think that would make the perks more immersive. So yeah. I'm so sorry guys, the dredge just interrupted me. I knew he was going to do that weird laugh. I can't believe he just did that. You know, he's been talking a lot this game, and yeah. So basically I want a better crafting system in the game. I think it's dumb how, you know, the perk Flashbang, you can just go into a locker and you just automatically conjure it up, you know. I think that's dumb. I think there should be like maybe certain parts you have to get, or basically you earn the item by doing a generator like the perk does. The perk does that for you, and but I still think you should go to like some kind of crafting station, you know, you get what I mean? And every map would have one. And not just the Flashbang perk, I think it should apply to Blast Mine, and you know, maybe the survivors can make other types of traps or items that will benefit them in either healing or gen making. But the clips are about to end, so if you watch to the end, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and have a good day or night. Brandy got blacked. No, it's alright. Well, I still have a couple things to do. Like, I have to wash this bowl. I have to get a soda. Well, I don't have to get a soda, but I gotta fuel my addiction. BTS. Oh, that's for the event. Okay then.